Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your 25th favorite dad in the family community, Papa West, Jacob West, and I am here to bring you this special present in this great time called a late TV fights. If you're sitting at home on the computer wondering, Jacob, what is a late TV fights? Plain and simple, it's the division where we argue TV shows, good TV shows, bad TV shows, anything. If it was on TV and it spanned in a couple episodes, it counts. And I have two gentlemen who are just waiting to take each other on. One person, he can't keep the excitement out of him. He keeps coughing it out. Our favorite New Zealander or Aussie, whichever part he lives in, Grant Gregory, the comic book lad. Grant,
thanks,
Grant.
I appreciate you and all your Islander brothers. So,
Grant, how are you doing today? I'm sorry that I offended you. As soon as I was about to say Australia, New Zealand came out, and I'm like, he's not from New Zealand. Jacob, you're an idiot. Our favorite Aussie, Grant. I'm sorry about that.
It's true. I cannot be angry at the Amish, so you're forgiven.
Can't be angry at the Amish. Not Amish, but okay. I'll take it. And taking on Grant, a gentleman who would rather be watching Killing Eve right now, our good friend, one of the best nicknames in the family community. I don't care what you say, Cody. That would be Ryan, Mr. Carmel Mountain Pain. Ryan, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. I mean, I literally forgot about this today because I spent all the last 5 hours on stream. So I'm still, I know what I'm doing here is just, I do this prepped. So I'm mainly just coming in with whatever I just remembering my questions and my answers. That's all.
Dude, you don't have to come in so overconfident.
I'm really spaced out here. That's as close as overconfident.
I mean, Grant's literally coughing out both of his lungs. And come on, Ryan. You got to do better than that.
Downplay the seriousness of this. I'm trying to say, oh, I'm safety. And it's like, this man's literally dying over here.
All right. Well, with that, we've gotten to know our competitors a little bit. We have two gentlemen joining me in the judging. I have right here on this side. Dang it. This side, I was like, for sure, I'm going to do the red side this time. Here on this side, the Raptor Master, Jonathan Peck. Jonathan, how are you doing today?
Very good right here. And currently right now, this is midnight right now, though. And funny enough, I was not tired before I received the call right here. It's like, you need a judge right here? I was like, sure, why not? Right here. And I recognize these two wonderful gentlemen in the bottom right here. They're two very talented competitors right here, and two very nice guys right here. So get ready to see what these two are all about.
All right. Well, Jonathan, the only thing I ask is please do not fall asleep on stream. That would be embarrassing. And I do not have your phone number to call you personally to wake you up. Don't worry. I will not release who I had to do that to a couple months ago. So Matty G, you're safe. I will not say that. And on the other side of him, I have Dr. Spaceman, Alan Shepard. Alan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Deja vu all over again. It's fun to do this, fun to be here. Two of my favorite guys going at it, so I'm excited to see what's happening in this situation, and I'm going to judge as fairly as possible. All right.
Well, with that, let's get into it. For those of you watching at home, and this is your first time watching late TV fights, you picked a great time to come in. Grant is debuting. Ryan's done this a couple times, but we're starting the brand new season. So way to not come in the middle of a tournament. Good decision on your end. But the way it works is I have 4 questions that I've given both competitors. They gave me an answer. They have studied their answer. They have studied their opponent's answer, and they're going to argue it out. Each question is going to have 3 different rounds. First round is a minute 30-second opening. This is pretty much where we tell the competitor, hey, tell us, what is your answer? Why did you pick that answer? You have 90 seconds to do whatever you want, just as long as you do those two things. Again, do whatever you want after that. It's your 90 seconds. If you don't even want to use them, you don't even have to. Then we'll go to a 5-minute free-form debate. This is 5 minutes where you are free to form your debates. The only thing we ask is that you do not talk over each other. Please make sure we can hear what you're saying, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what y'all say. It matters what the three of us hear and what sticks with us. So please make sure we can hear what y'all are saying. Don't talk over each other. We are all friends. We don't want to hate each other too much after this. And then the last round is a 60-second closing. This is your final chance to sell us on your arguments and sell us on why your opponent's argument is the wrong answer. During the after that, if it's first person to 3 points wins. Now, because there is 4 questions and there's a possibility of us being tied 2-2 at the end of this, I don't like participation trophies. We will have a winner at the end of this. If it comes to it, I do have a speed round question, and we will get into the speed round if I have to get into that. We only have 2 rules here. The first one is you do have a one-time use of a minute extension that you can either use on your opening or closing. If you need an extra minute just to fully sell your argument, let me know before you start debating, and we will give you an extra minute on that. Again, one-time use it when you need it, or don't use it. It's your minute. I don't care. You can't take it to the next round, so there's no reason not to use it. And then the second, please no touching of the face, hair, or under the belt. Again, we are self-quarantining and dang it, Alan, every time you're here, I forget the word that I'm thinking of. Where you're away from each other. Social distancing. We are properly social distancing. Even though it looks like Jonathan and I are millimeters apart from each other, we're actually a lot farther away than it looks like. So there shouldn't be any physical touching going on. But then also, you do have, if y'all are talking over each other and I cannot hear what's going on, I will call for a 10-second timeout. It's pretty much where y'all stop talking, you go to your rooms, you think about your life, whatever we need to do. But this is 10 seconds where the time does continue going. So you will lose 10 seconds. And it's pretty much just calming down, getting all chill again, and getting back into it. I do have kids, so my patience level is really low right now. So do not make me use it. I will use it. I say that I've only used it once. I've hosted a ton of times, but still, I will use it eventually. So with that, let's get into these questions. Now, I will let everyone know, each competitor does give me a TV show to use as a strength to use for the first 2 questions. So the first question is coming in the TV show of Scrubs, which is Grant's strength. And our question is, what Scrubs character would last the longest as a real hospital employee? Grant, since this is your strength, we're going to go and have you open up the argument. You have 1 minute, 30 seconds on the clock. Time starts when you start talking.
So the character that I picked that would last with Neil Flynn character of the janitor. He plays the janitor. He would last the longest in a hospital because he's actually worked in a hospital as a hospital employee. He wasn't a doctor or anything like that. He had a much low level job. It didn't specify what sort of job they would do, but he's already been there. He was already able to handle it, and the reason why he stopped doing it was because he got accepted into his acting school. So this is a person that I know can handle the pressure because he's already previously done that. And I'll concede the rest of my time to Ryan.
All right, conceding the rest of his time. Ryan, we are moving on to you. 1 minute, 30 seconds on the clock. Time starts when you start talking.
The character I picked for Scrubs, mainly I looked at every character and I just came down to it when it came to actual positions who would be the longest. And I looked at the nursing staff of the Scrubs Hospital at Sacred Heart, and the character that popped in my mind was Laverne. She was definitely one of the more. She was one of the nurses who's been at Sacred Heart for over like 10 years. She had the respect of everyone in the hospital, including the curmudgeon hospital administrator. So, and she was a wise voice. She was very stern with her coworkers, but she always provided wisdom and support for her fellow nurses. If she was able to always have the respect of doctors like Kelso and Dr. Cox, it wouldn't surprise me if a nurse like that existed in an actual hospital. So that's my choice, and I can see my time.
All right, conceding the rest of his time, we have Grant choosing Neil Flynn and Ryan choosing Laverne. 5 minutes. Fight it out. Time starts when someone starts talking.
Grant, you're muted.
You go.
Okay. Well, the reason I did pick Laverne is because throughout most of Scrubs until her character death, she had a very long tenure because she wasn't trying to make waves with so many people in the hospital. While even though the interns like even though JD and Turk were the main focuses, but when you had nurses like Carla, who was always brash, Laverne was one of the supporting characters in the background who was mainly there just to get the job done. And even though she butted heads with doctors, ultimately she remembered that the goal is always towards the patients. And as I mentioned in my opening, she had a lot of respect of the nursing staff and Dr. Cox.
I mean that's fair enough of a point, but I mean realistically, in a real life scenario, she didn't really do a lot. She was more complaining. She was more judgmental. My guy found a way around everything. He knew exactly what to do, when to do. He could put in the maximum amount of minimal effort every time. he could drive. He's got so many different things. Your one is just a nurse. My guy can do absolutely anything. He proved that he could be, a master saboteur. He could do this. He could do that. He could find his way in there. He walked around in a doctor's suit. People thought he was a doctor. Laverne couldn't get away with that. The reason why my guy would work is because he has the versatility of things that he can do. He's not just a one note sort of character. If you need a janitor, he can be a janitor. You need a driver, he can be a driver. You need something, he can do this. He can do the whole range of things. Your one will only last if there's a nursing crisis or a nursing shortage or something. She won't last long. And let's also face the fact that she's much older as well. So if starting now, who would last the longest? Nothing to do with the past. Right now, my guy would last a lot longer, but purely simply on the fact that he's much younger than what she is, and he has a much more diverse range of abilities.
That is a good point. But what I mentioned before is that Laverne, she's the only reason why she's older because she's worked at the hospital for a long time. You say that the janitor would know the ins and outs of the hospital. So should she. She was there when Kelso was a young doctor, so she actually knows what he's like. And in real life, nurses who have been at hospitals longer are generally more relied and trusted upon, especially when it comes to the older hospital staff or even hospital administrators, because the nurses will know exactly what goes where, what department young interns need to go to in order to get prescription pads, in order to get supplies. They also know exactly how to comfort interns or fellow nurses for nurses who are always having a hard time.
All this is true, but it's not about who's the better employee. It's who would last the longest. The reason why my guy would last the longest is because he would find a way. He's sneaky. He knows how to do that. You're going on the merits of her as a job. Nurses strike all the time. Different things happen like that. My guy could do it because it doesn't matter if the janitor strike. He's now going to come in as Dr. Rotenage, which is another one that he's come in as different characters. He's been maintenance. He's done so many different things. So it doesn't matter what it is, and it's not what they've done previously. It's like if they ask you right now which character would last the longest, it would be Neil Flynn's janitor, based purely simply on the fact that he's younger, he's more versatile, he knows the ins and outs. He literally has the keys to the hospital.
When you say that the janitor can come in and dress up as somebody, in real life situations, if a janitor came in dressed up as a doctor and people were confusing him as a doctor, the hospital would be liable to be sued or go under some type of malpractice because of the antics of the janitor, the character of Neil Flynn. In the TV show, yes, he got away with it. And yes, my character, Laverne, you look at her as a one-note character, but in real life, someone who is very good at their job, who has been not like one note, but who is so experienced in it that they can actually have range in that profession, which is on nursing. And yes, nursing strikes or worker strikes do happen, and it might affect the longevity. But ultimately, at a hospital, when you have so many people's lives on the line, you need someone who's reliable, someone who has who knows in and out how to navigate their way around the place, either if they're a maintenance worker or if they're a hospital nurse, or heck, they're just a lawyer. I mean, the fact that Laverne is the longest character, the only reason why her character's length in the TV show didn't last because her character was written off to die. But even then, her character was her character did come back in the show's later run.
My guy can do it all. Are you saying that they'll be held liable? Nurses get done for stuff all the time. That's why they have hospital insurance. My guy can do anything, and he's proved it episode after episode. He's the man of all talents.
Time. All right, great way to start this off. So let's go ahead and close it out. We start off with Grant. So Ryan, you're going to start us off with your 1 minute closing. Time starts when you start talking.
To cover my opponents, what they said, yeah, nurses are liable for mistakes, and yes, there is an idea of hospital insurance and malpractices. But with nurses when nurses get better at the job, they become more reliable on duty because they're dealing with always patients coming in out, and no matter what sickness or what injuries they deal with. And in real life situations, someone like Laverne, who may come off as old and complaint and crudgety to coworkers, might seem that way. But when patients' lives are on the line, when doctors need to get things done, what they're going to need is someone who is reliable, which is a nurse like Laverne, because she knows exactly to cut through all the BS and get down to what's really important, and that is ensuring the health of the patients. Now, it is true that older nurses might be less liable down the line when it comes with long-term positions, but still, in the end, you're going to need a senior residential nursing staff, or at least someone in charge, in order to make sure all the young nurses know their places. And the fact that Laverne's her veteran abilities.
Time.
God, okay.
All right, Grant, close us out. 1 minute on the clock. Time starts when you start talking.
Things my guy has going for him: age, versatility. He's cunning. He uses his brain for everything. He's very scheming. If there's a way of him getting something, he gets it. If it was basically who could last longer, he would find a way to make sure that happened. Also, while doing the least amount of work along the way. You're talking about Laverne because she's so reliable and everything. She wasn't even reliable enough in the show that they killed a character off. So I mean, and they brought her back as Laverne again. With a slightly different thing. And you want to talk about Laverne, a hyper pushy Christian. That's the sort of person that's going to get sued this day and age because she's extremely preachy. What happens when someone of a different religion comes in? She's going to be pushing Jesus up on them like that, and they're going to get sued like that. That's way more worse than a janitor dressing up as a doctor. So yeah, I can see the rest.
Conceding the rest. Great first round so far. Now it's time to move to the judging stage with Jonathan. Jonathan, who is getting your point and why?
The person who gives the point for me is Grant on this one because he did pull out the points right here. Then why his character might be more, well, not to say qualified, but more informed to stay long enough in the hospital, though. Which Ryan, for you though, I felt like yours did have a good quantifications right here, but I wasn't hearing you enough that why your character might be stay long enough in the hospital though. So that was my reason to give my point to Grant.
All right, and Alan, who is getting your point and why?
Good compelling arguments each, but I too am going to go towards Grant. He just produced more skill sets that his character had. Ryan had good counters, especially the one with the hospital being sued. But Grant had a good counter with it. And I like the fact that Ryan was talking about how a nurse, knows how to do the ins and outs and gets things done. in a hospital setting, but he hit you a little too much with the one note, and he couldn't kind of recover from that. So Grant gets the point.
All right, and with that, Grant gets the first point of the match. Going on to me, because my opinion does not matter to anyone but me. I too was leaning towards Grant. Ryan, I really wish you would have brought a little bit more of saying why Neil wouldn't last long in a hospital. And to kind of correct you on it, not only would the hospital get sued if he was caught personating a doctor, that crap's illegal. He's gonna get thrown in jail for that. I really wish had you brought that up of he's gonna last longer. He does that once and he's gone. Again, if you brought a little bit more on why he wouldn't have made it, this would be a little bit different. So with that, Grant does take a 1-0 lead. Now it's time to get into question number 2, which is Ryan's strength in the TV show of Lucifer. And it is, what is the best moment of the TV show Lucifer? Ryan, since this is your strength, we're going to start off with you. You have 1 minute, 30 seconds on the clock. Time starts when you start talking.
There are a lot of moments in Lucifer I personally could have picked, but for me, the one moment that stands out the best and through rewatching of the show Lucifer is in season 3, the death of Charlotte Richards, and it also at the same time it's the following moment where Amenadiel gets his wings back. Now, the reason why that moment is the best is because in season 3, when Charlotte Richards returns, she had just had her body occupied by the goddess of all life, which is Lucifer's mother. So she didn't remember what happened to her. She realizes that she was in hell because she felt guilty because of her job as a defense attorney. So throughout the season, it was about her redemption, trying to not go back, but at the same time be a better person. At the same time, Amelia was her guy, someone who wanted to keep her on, but also that Amelia was. So in redemption, these two souls lost so friends with each other, and they ultimately realize is that redemption is not something that is earned. It is something that you must do within yourself. You must forgive yourself for all the stuff that you have done. And her death was her way of trying to not only redeem herself but protect Amenadiel. And it was through her dying moments Amenadiel realized that Charlotte was more of a good person, more human he has ever contacted with. And it was that moment when he gets his wings back and they both fly to heaven. And I'm going to end here before time runs out because I'm pretty sure I'm talking too much.
Time. Jonathan, to answer your statement, I have time just because I can add that banner for the 1 minute left so we don't have to interrupt the arguments.
Just want to make sure. All right.
So I gotcha. All right, Ryan going with Amenadiel getting his wings back. Grant, we are moving on to you. 1 minute, 30 seconds on the clock. Time starts when you start talking.
All right. The show Lucifer is a character study into the character of Lucifer, and I don't know if many people know this, but the guy kind of has daddy issues. He was forced into a role in which that he didn't want to do. He feels typecast for it. He was, essentially kicked out of home and forced to live in a really bad place, even worse than Detroit. And he was in a place where he was just full of anger, and he hadn't seen or heard from his father in thousands of years. The moment that I picked is when he gets to confront his father, or the person that he believes is his father, due to his father's grace imbuing a belt buckle. And you get to see the raw emotion. You find out in those 3 minutes exactly who Lucifer is, because there's no pretending, there's no bravado, there's nothing. It's the most purest form of that character. And in the show, which is a character study of a certain character, the best moment always is with that character, and that's why I picked that moment. I'm good.
Okay. All right, Grant with Lucifer confronting God. We have 5 minutes. on the clock to battle it out. Time starts when someone starts talking.
The death of Charlotte Rich, as though it was sad. It was technically like now the third time that we've seen her sort of die. And your thing was more about her death, but you're arguing about points that happened around and after it. Amenadiel getting his wings back and everything. Amenadiel was well on his way to getting his wings. That wasn't the reason why he did it. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the final thing. Amenadiel would have got his wings back anyway. This was just the last thing that happened.
I kind of disagree on that because in that episode, Charlotte is confronting a sin of her past, of representing an attorney who she knew was guilty, but decided to hide evidence because she wanted to advance her career. This collided at the same time she was trying to become a better person. And this was the same episode where Amenadiel finally realized that angels and humans are not that different. Angels fall because they feel guilt just like humans do, and they can also be redeemed. This was just like a natural collision coming forward, and Charlotte's death was born out of protecting because she's no longer that selfish person that she was. And Amenadiel realizing that a good soul like Charlotte should not be withered in the ether and limbo or even meant to go down to hell. So him getting his wings back was just like a very icing on the cake of both of their arcs. And it was perfect with the last shot, with the near the closing shots. You're seeing Amenadiel ascend with Charlotte's soul to hell, which is great.
Yeah, here's the thing with that. It's also a very greedy sort of thing. He took the last moments away from the person who was really in love with Charlotte, Detective Douchebag, and he could have been there with her, and he loved her to bits. It affects him later on. I mean, your best moment is a moment where he steals something precious away from other, just because he got his wings back, and it's all about him. Lucifer, my moment is about Lucifer. You're talking about sins of the past. Let's talk about eons worth. Everything that God has ever done to Lucifer was not Lucifer's fault. He rebelled like most children do. He got sent to hell, and God wrote a book basically saying he was the worst person in the world. Everyone hates the devil because they think the devil's evil, and he's not. And you get to see in that moment when he's breaking down in front of this man, and all God turns around and says, "Yeah, you're right. I was wrong." And the relief and the look on his face, it breaks the mold of the superficial Lucifer. You get to see his true face. He's got his Lucifer face, he's got his devil face, and then underneath that, you get to see the face of a kid who just wanted the approval of his father.
The thing with Lucifer was, you talking about a kid who rebelled. Yes, a kid who rebelled and get punished. But the thing was, Lucifer started rebellion in heaven that he wanted to overthrow his father's seat of power. Now, in normal family circumstances, you can understand a father would want to kick the son out, and then the son has to make do on their way. Lucifer tried to upset the balance of power of galaxy eons that could have upset things in the future because he wasn't happy with something because he didn't like his place. Lucifer easily could have left. Him being banished to hell was a punishment. Yes, God overreacted with this whole book, but the problem was
that's the point of him confronting him. Sins of the past. Like what you're saying, you're talking about a redemption arc. There isn't a bigger redemption arc in the entire history than the devil.
But at the same time, Lucifer is
you're talking about the best person on the show. It's Lucifer. In that moment, you get to see the true view. You get to see Lucifer, Samael, the angel. You don't see Lucifer. You see the boy who still and aches for the love of his father. Yes, he rebelled, and yes, he hated doing it. And the reason why it's the best moment because it's a character study of the character Lucifer in a show called Lucifer. You're talking about something that happened with two side characters, and as I said, the moment that Amenadiel stole away from Detective Douchebag.
He did not steal it. Charlotte's body was still there. This was Amenadiel rewarding Charlotte because with Charlotte, the entire season, she was worried about going to hell, confiding, trusting Amenadiel with this. This was Amenadiel not only rewarding Charlotte, but honoring his dead friend. It's her spirit that goes into heaven, not her body. Dan still gets to have that moment with her body laying there. And to be honest, when it comes with and one thing the show Lucifer has shown, when humans interact with Celestial, either if it's the grace of a belt buckle or a sword of the angel of death, it doesn't mix well. This was just something completely different. But with Lucifer, he has had many opportunities to shed this bad boy image of himself, but he continues to keep being that douchebag. Even in his therapy sessions, in the moment he
Because
shows
he
his face.
because he wasn't able to confront God. Since he's been able to confront God, his arc has changed. He's become a better person. He's fallen in love. He's been loved back in return.
All right, another great round as we move on to the closing. Since we start off with Ryan, Grant, you're going to start us off in the closing. You have a minute on the clock. Time starts when you start talking.
Contrast moments. Your moment is about Amenadiel getting his wings back. It's about him. You're trying to play it off as him being this hero and everything like that. It's a good moment. I'm not going to lie. The story of Lucifer and how he fell and then how he left, how he decided that no, I'm not gonna be told what to do anymore. I'm done. And him finally being able to confront at least a part of his father was the best moment in the show because it's about Lucifer. Lucifer confronts God, gets everything he wants to say off his chest, and you see you see the little boy in him. You see the person who's not trying to sleep with everyone. You see the raw, true, pure emotion of the show. It's a character study into what it's like to have a dysfunctional family. Because let's be fair, he has one of the most dysfunctional families that's going around, and him being able to confront and take a little bit of that power back, and finally after that, doing one thing he's never done before, that's fall in love and be loved back legitimately.
Time. And Ryan, coming down to you. Minute on the clock to close out this question. Time starts when you start talking.
If you want to talk about a true character story, Amenadiel's character study starts from season 1. He was a very prideful angel who saw nothing but Lucifer as a burden on himself. The moment he fell in season 2, you start to see that Amenadiel is not a perfect person. That the same things that Lucifer does that Amenadiel did in season 1, Amenadiel immediately has to face the consequences, but instead of Lucifer just shining away, he owns up to it. And in season 3, when he meets the woman who held his mother's grace, find out that her life was stolen away from her because of Celestial and the fact that she was in hell, Amenadiel feels completely responsible because he's trying to find a new path. And Charlotte going along that same path with him, trying to redeem herself, is important. Without Amenadiel and Charlotte, you get to see great character studies between the both of them. Charlotte realizing that the last 5 months of her life that she wasn't crazy, and then she immediately relapses, and then she realizes that she's never going to be redeemed. That moment of those two being on the bench is them just opening up and realizing that
Time. All right. Moving on to the judging. Alan, we're going to start off with you. Please tell me who gets your point and why.
Knew you were gonna start. Oh man, this actually was good. You both had very compelling. I like that you brought the character study aspect into it. A great deal. I think Ryan just had a little bit of the edge when he went into the Lucifer didn't do nothing. He actually did a lot to what he deserved, and the actions that came to him. So I think I'm gonna go with Ryan on this one.
All right, Ryan getting the first vote. Moving on to me this time. I'm not a big fan of this question. I'm not a big fan of this TV show on the simple fact of I'm a good little Christian boy. So anything named Lucifer, I have to stay away from. So seeing him be redeemed, that's a little weird. But no, in all seriousness, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Ryan as well. Grant was really leading into the reason why this is the best moment of the TV series is because it's a TV series about Lucifer, so the best moment has to be about him. And I think Ryan was really, really able to counter that pretty well, saying that hey, Amenadiel had the same things that Lucifer did. You see the same character arcs. Even if he took some thunder from Detective Douchebag, because screw that guy. I'm gonna give the slight edge to Ryan as well. So with that, Ryan gets his first point to tie it up 1-1. Jonathan, who were you leaning towards on this one?
For me, same thing. My point is rather to go to Ryan though. Same things as both of you guys. points right here, though, so I would give my point to Ryan.
All right. Moving on to question number 3, which is, what TV series had the worst series finale? I had to make sure that I typed that in the scrolling bar correctly because it looked weird. But yes, I did. Sweet. So, what TV series had the worst TV series finale? That's why it looks weird. Grant, we are starting off with you. You have a minute, 30 seconds on the clock. Time starts when you start talking.
When you think about TV series and ending, that has to do with the story that came before, most obviously. Whether it be a satisfactory ending or an ending that doesn't really bode well. My ending from the TV series that I think had absolutely nothing to do with the actual TV series. The whole thing was based on another TV series, and that was its thing, and that's Star Trek Enterprise. We're talking about the final one of what we consider classic Star Trek TV series. It took everything that the previous seasons built up on, and to say that it took a big steaming pile of shit on it would be an understatement, because the whole point of the series and the show was to do with a single episode on another TV series. So it has to be the worst one, because it wasn't an ending. It wasn't satisfactory. It wasn't good. It wasn't even related to its own show. That was the problem. I'm good.
All right, conceding the rest of his time, going with Star Trek Enterprise. Ryan, we are moving on to you. A minute, 30 seconds on the clock. Time starts when you start talking.
One of the biggest crimes that can happen to a TV series finale is that the episode and the ending itself would be not self-serving to the fans that have followed this TV show, but ultimately is just to try to tie in loops for what the creators or what the writers wanted, how they saw the end of this show. And with that being said, the show I picked was How I Met Your Mother. The last two episodes, the last one forever. The season started off, the whole whole season 9 throughout How I Met Your Mother took place over a weekend. 72 hours minus a little bit of, side stories of people like in the future or like in the past. So this season was already stretching the fans' patience with the resolution. But when the resolution came, the last 5 minutes was nothing but the writers trying to tie up loose ends in their own mind so they can put Ted with Robin instead of doing the natural and organic flow, which was having Ted end up with the woman who became his wife, Tracy McConnell, and have Robin and Barney married. There was so much forced conflict, so much like swerves and changes, just because the writers wanted to get the original ending they wrote back in season 1 was a complete disservice, and a series finale that still upsets fans to this day, to where the series itself is almost unwatchable, where people look back at previous seasons. And I will concede my time.
Conceding a whole 3 seconds. All right. Ryan with How I Met Your Mother. Grant with Star Trek Enterprise. 5 minutes on the clock to battle it out. Time starts when someone starts talking.
Your ending was predetermined. They even filmed stuff back 9 years prior to that. It was the ending of the show. They always had that in mind, to say that it should have gone organically, basically saying I didn't get the ending that I liked. Not that it was a bad one. You just didn't get the one that you liked. The characters you didn't want, and they had a vision. They stuck to it. They went with it. My one was a complete throw around. The last episode was a freaking a hollow room projection for freaking Riker to make a decision in bloody Star Trek Next Generation of an episode that happened in season 3, 15 years earlier to it. That was the big conclusion, was everything that we were watching was a hologram for him to be able to make a decision on another TV series that had already been resolved, because we'd already seen it 15 years earlier. That's the conclusion. Everyone that we see is that your one happens, you're talking about happening organically. It happened organically. Yes, it was rushed in the last thing because they were hoping to do an extra season, and they didn't. But it doesn't make it bad. And you want to talk about ending? Which ending? They've shot like 10 different endings. How can you say there's a worse ending when they've got multiple endings? Which ending? You haven't described which ending it was and why it was bad. You just said it was bad.
The ending was with Ted and Robin ending up together. And yes, they shot this ago. This was just in case the show had got canceled, but they were able to get one more season to wrap it up, meaning the directional storyline they had going into season 9 was Barney and Robin getting married, them hiring a band, and the bass player happening to be the woman who's going to marry Ted, and Ted considering moving to Chicago. And the fact is that everything started changing in those last episodes because the writers is like, oh, but we had this plan together, instead of ending it the way it was in that alternative take, to where it just ends with Ted saying to his children, "That's how I met your mother," and credits hit. If they had stuck with that alternative take, the series would, despite ratings, the fanfare would have been satisfied because it was a trajectory from having Robin and Barney hook up. And even now, people don't even rewatch most of the seasons or episodes, even though the show is in syndication, and not many people watch it unless they're bored, not because
the show is shown in over 100 countries, so you can't say that it's not being watched. Something that's shown in over 100 countries on multiple platforms, you can't say it's unwatchable because it's being watched. Because otherwise it wouldn't be in syndication at all. If it wasn't making any money or anything like that, it wouldn't be on. I'm talking about a thing that doesn't just break its own show, but it breaks the entire continuity of every other Star Trek came before.
That's exactly
I'm talking about 50 years worth of stuff. They had a plan and they stuck to it. My one was literally thrown together because they didn't have an ending, so they couldn't even get half the actors back in because they got people to come in on their holidays to film the last one, and it was rushed. It was shot and made over a weekend. It was shot and made over a weekend. The whole last episode was a simulation to help another person on another TV series that already happened. It wasn't to set anything new up. It wasn't set anything like that.
Then what that could have happened was it could have shot. You know what, the whole thing, the way you're describing it, kind of seems to me, yeah, it was rushed. Just like how I mentioned, it was rushed. What the producers or the writers they could have done was they could have tried to find time to get the actors, and instead of just trying to give a episode, they could have did maybe like a TV movie, like what most series do whenever they want to conclude storylines. They could have given Star Trek Enterprise like a 75 or 80-minute TV movie.
They could have gave them $150 million budget, but they didn't. That's the moot point. You're just conjecture now. You're talking about how bad your whole season was. I'm talking about the last. My last season was phenomenal. It was probably the best season that they've ever done. And then to end it on something that wasn't even a part of its own show. You're watching something that it's worse. It's worse than the movie. Oh, the whole thing was a dream. It was a simulation for another show. Do you get how dumb that is? It's like in your show. If the whole point of it,
introducing Ted and the mother at a train station, having them have this beautiful life, and then the last 5 minutes saying that she dies of a deadly disease, having him tell this story to his kids, all of a sudden for his kids to say, "Oh, don't worry, we're okay with mom dead. How about you hook up with Aunt Robin?" That's just completely more dumb than something being a holograph. At least when it comes to Star Trek, it sort of matches with the show, not the continuity of the show, but at least with a futuristic show. What someone like Riker would not be looking at a holograph of previous captains wanted to look at a previous decision. That's the same thing as football players.
It's nothing to do with Enterprise, though. That's the whole point. It's to do with another thing. It's like your whole episode, your whole series was freaking Homer waking up at the end of it, going, "Oh look, that was just a dream I had about a new show that I want to write." You see how dumb that is? That's the exact same.
Time. All right. Getting into the closing. Since we start off with Grant, Ryan, we are starting off with you. Minute on the clock. Time starts when you start talking.
Normally in situations when creators and writers have a plan and an execution for their TV show, it's normally considered a triumph when they were able to execute that. The problem is with How I Met Your Mother, the whole premise of the entire show was who's the mom? And after so many switches and so many fake outs, people got sick and tired to the point they wanted to meet the mom. And in season 9, and this is not just the season itself, because the ending itself of the series contradicts not just season 9, it contradicts season 8 and 7, because if the whole point was just for Ted, when he's much older with his kids growing up, most likely in college, is just for, okay, it's time for you to move on. No, I would not have taken that. This original ending could have been an alternate take to where the writer said, how would you guys have preferred if we had that? Instead, we have this nice moment of Ted and Tracy meeting at the train station, having this nice, cute interaction with each other, showing how well the chemistry is between them. And then not only having the same interest, but at the end, you see him just at a death at her hospital bed, her being dead, and the kids saying, don't worry, Daddy, marry Aunt Robin, date her. We don't care about Mom.
All right, Grant, moving on to you. A minute on the clock to close this out. Time starts when you start talking.
First point is they didn't say that it's fine that Mum's dead. They said it's time that you move on. We understand you're telling us the story how you met your mum, so you can find a soft way of telling us that you still got feelings for Robin. That's fine. It's organic. People die all the time, but you know what it did? It stuck to its own actual show, its own universe. Mine didn't. Mine went to a completely different other one. A hologram for another TV series. How I Met Your Mother, as I said, it would be the same as if How I Met Your Mother was all a dream in Homer Simpson's head, and that was the ending, or someone in 30 Rock or something stupid like that. That has nothing to do with it. It takes away the core element of what the show was. You're talking about it ruined 2 seasons. This ruined an entire thing. They stopped TV series for Star Trek for 15 years after that. It killed Star Trek. That's how bad of an ending was. It killed TV Star Trek until J.J. Abrams did his bad reboot. And people don't cancel the time, so it's all
All
right.
right. Another great question. Another great round as we bring it into the judging phase. We're going to start off with me this time. And I am going to give my point to Grant. Biggest thing was the whole saying. What really won it for me was him saying that the last season was one of the best seasons ever, and then it was just ruined. Ryan, you started talking with the whole the biggest hit you had towards him was it was continuity towards a different show, and you brought it up barely in the 5 minutes of it makes sense for Riker to be watching these videos of other captains in the same situation as the exact same thing as football players, and dropped it. And I really wish you would have picked it up and probably done that a little bit on the closing to sway me a little bit. I don't know about the others, but no, I'm gonna give my point to Grant on this one. Jonathan, we're moving on to you. Who gets your point and why?
Wow. I just want to say one thing though. I did watch these finales. I just say, not a fan of both of them. I'll just say that right now. But for me, the person who swayed me the most and the argument for me is more compelling, I'm going to go with Grant also, because he put out his more compelling arguments that his finale is really atrocious on this one, because the season around it is fantastic right here. While Ryan, what yours is, yeah, it's a bad finale, and I don't like it either. But at the same time, you didn't even help, and also the season around it just wasn't 100% all that great right here. Even you admitted yourself as like it was not originally supposed to be that season to begin with afterwards. So, and for me, I think Grant put up a more compelling argument why his from us is bad right here. So I'm gonna give my point to Grant.
All right, and with that, Grant takes the point. Alan, your opinion does not matter in the actual sense, but it does matter to me. Who would you have given your point to and why?
That's why they call you Big Papa. So I was actually going to go with Ryan. I think he hit hard with the the show's called How I Met Your Mother, and then the kids are supposed to be okay with, oh, your mom's been dead this whole time and moving on to the next woman. I think that makes a lot of sense. Grant had strong arguments with the fact that, you know, it is a disappointment when things are just a dream, and that's the finale for a lot of things. But I think Ryan had made a good case with that, with the end of that, and in retrospect, it ruined the viewing of that whole show for a lot of people. So I think that was the strongest. If I would have went with Ryan, but again, my point doesn't matter.
Again, it does matter in my heart, though. But I do need to correct you real quick, Alan. No one calls me Big Papa. That privilege belongs to Jeff Varyu, our friend at Full Metal Trivia. I'm Papa West. Mini
My
Papa,
apologies, sir.
Yes, it's okay. It's okay. You complimented me so much by saying that, because he is on so many tiers higher than me. But thank you for that, Alan. That really felt good. So with that, we are getting into question number 4. Grant, you are up 2-1. You win this point, you win the match. Ryan, this is do or die. If you want to win this match, you have to win this point to take us to the speed round. And our question, spoiler alert, I already had it on there. What Game of Thrones character was killed off too soon? Ryan, we are starting off with you. Again, this is do or die.
Can I ask what I put my answer on the button again?
Yep. So you picked Oberyn Martell.
Oberyn Martell. That's right. Sorry. Thank you. The red button.
Welcome. All right. So Ryan, you have 1 minute 30 seconds to open up this argument. Time starts when you start talking.
I'm just gonna get right down to it. The character I picked who was killed off too soon on Game of Thrones was Barristan Selmy. We were introduced to him in season 1. He was one of the he was one of the head knights. He was a knight. He was one of the small council members in King's Landing. And in season 1, he ends up leaving because when Joffrey is now king, he's just belittled by Cersei and the small court. So he leaves because he feels that his skills are not being recognized, and he goes for someone else, which we see him again in season 3 when he finds Daenerys Targaryen and Jorah, and he chooses to join them. He was killed off too soon because the moment that they get to Meereen and Daenerys is there, she had just banished Jorah, and Barristan was the next person to counsel her. He not only was he an experienced knight, he knew of Westeros, and most importantly, he knew of her family. He personally knew her brother Rhaegal, which was important because all Daenerys knew was stories of her older brother Rhaegal. He had personal stories, so she can understand her older brother, so she can know that she's not from this line of madness. She's not from this line of tyranny, that there were goodness in her family. And then he ends up dying in a sneak attack by some commoners because some slave merchants did not like the way Daenerys was running it. In the books, his character still lives long enough to go to Daenerys to Westeros. And if his fate was slightly altered to joining her in Westeros, we could have had maybe a different story, maybe a different character trajectory. God, I hate studying.
Okay. All right. So Ryan opening it up with Barristan Selmy. Grant, 1 minute, 30 seconds to open up your argument. Time starts when you start talking.
In a world of replaceable characters, it takes a lot to come out as a fan favorite, especially when you've only been in a handful of episodes. Oberyn Martell was that character. He was so well liked and so well received by the fans. As soon as I saw him, he was a handsome bloke. He was very quick-witted. He wasn't afraid of anyone. He was hyper athletic. And he was someone who fits perfectly into this world. He was the connection to another part of Westeros that we hadn't previously been able to see. His death, Oberyn Martell's death, was it was let's just say a wee bit shocking and a little bit graphic. But the biggest crime about it wasn't the blood, it wasn't the gore, it wasn't the fact that his head was smashed in, or the fact that he lost his fight for Tyrion. It was the fact that he's no longer around. He's a character that embodied a new flavor in Game of Thrones. He was that little bit of spice in the somewhat stale soup that was Game of Thrones becoming then. If he stuck around a little bit longer, there would have been so much more entertainment for us. And at the end of the day, that's what's important, was us being entertained by good character.
Time. All right. We have Barristan Selmy versus Oberyn Martell. A fight that I would have actually liked to see in Game of Thrones to begin with. But unfortunately, they were both killed off too soon. We have 5 minutes. 5 minutes on the clock to battle it out. Time starts when someone starts talking.
Grant, while Oberyn's death did feel that most people it was too soon, but at the same time, his death was because of his own hubris, because of his own anger as a character. It was clear from his introduction, he was there because he wants justice. And while he could have tried to play the long game, he wanted to do things his way. And by choosing to be Tyrion's champion, choosing to fight out of vengeance instead of trying to play the long game, ended up undoing his actions. When he had the mountain beat, he could have just let the poison take over his body and then walk away. But no, he was angry because his emotions got the better of him, because his pride got the best of him. And his death, unfortunately, was because of his own doing. And it felt fitting when it comes to story-wise, because you can't just rest on your own laurels and hope that you're going to come out okay. No, you need
that's
to
Game
be
of Thrones. Everyone does that. They rest on their own laurels. And that's what I'm saying. You even just said that it was too soon, so you're agreeing with me. So thank you for giving your character's death wasn't too soon. Yeah, his death might fit the purpose. Your guy's death fits the purpose as well. He was there. He was a lone old man, and he was used to a certain style of attack. He wasn't used to this espionage style backstabbing sort of thing, and he got caught. That's what happens. He was an old man. My guy was in the prime of his life. He was well liked by the fans. To this moment, his death is still one of the ones that people don't like. Not because of the gratuitous violence and the fact that he got his head crushed in was based purely and simply on the fact that everyone loved him. He was so popular from those few episodes and that his career took off. That's how he was killed off so soon, because they didn't realize how great of a character and an actor that they had in there. That's why it was. He was entertaining. Your guy was killed. You're saying your guy was killed off too soon because he had memories and he had this or that. It's all boring side stuff.
At the same time, characters like Daenerys Stormborn, once she had her dragons and she started burning cities, killing slave masters, she was becoming overconfident in her abilities with those dragons, with her connection to them. And after the betrayal that she had gotten from Jorah, someone who was with her from the start with her journey, and the fact she was at an emotional point. Her council sessions with Barristan, her conversations was for him to let her know, you are not the Mad King's daughter. You're not born from this line of madness. No, there is goodness in your family. And having having him there, if he had not died, would have helped her remind what kind of leader, what kind of ruler she could have been, instead of her making decisions just out of survival. She could have been doing this in Marine, the forethought of what was good for the people. She gets removed in season 5 when she's taken away by Drogon, leaving Tyrion and others to fix the city. Had she had still been there, or had Saracen had been there, we could have seen a different state of mind between the court, which is Tyrion.
Yeah, she could have been worse. He didn't help the state of mind of a brother when he went mad. So him being there doesn't necessarily make her.
Rhaegal did not go mad. I want to clarify that. He didn't go mad. People thought he was mad because of the lies that was being spread there, but Rhaegal was someone of clear in mind. Oberyn, unfortunately, his greatest personality.
It didn't help him. How did that help him? You're saying it's going to help. I'm talking about the reasons why my character shouldn't be killed off, and it's because he was fun, he was entertaining, he brought something new. You're talking about an old guy sitting down telling stories about the family. That's cool and fine. My guy could do fine. All the fights that we missed out on. All the fights that we missed out on. No, all the fights that we missed out on, well, because of it. And you say it was his own hubris. Yes, it was the same with your guy, walking alone in the street where he's hated. He's a council of the incoming freaking conqueror. Of course, he's like, if we're talking about mistakes that the characters made, they're both responsible for their own death. But that bringing that point up is moot. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. The reason why my character was killed off too soon was because he was the best character. Your guy had a season to be around and a little bit more. My guy was able to do much more of that in a much shorter time. If he had a full
character
season,
felt better with the slow burning nature of the story from the first 5 seasons, and he brings experience as a knight, experience as a fighter. And as I mentioned before, his knowledge of Rhaegal Targaryen, of Daenerys' family, to Daenerys, who knows nothing but stories. That is a valued commodity, not just to be in good graces of her,
Talk
but to
about
carry her on
commodity. How about a
side.
print?
You
How
need
about
someone to calm them down, someone to let them know that they can't go. They don't be a tyrant. Don't be what they want you to be. Barristan could have been that voice of reason.
Yeah, I mean, if he had wheels, he could have been a bike as well. But that's neither the point. Like, you're trying to add story to it. My guy was entertaining, and he was a prince. He had a direct connection to another line. He could have formed an alliance. He could have been a million things like that.
Time.
Yeah.
All right. Moving into the closing. Grant, you have 60 seconds on the clock. Time starts when you start talking.
The question is, which Game of Thrones character was killed off too soon? His character that was killed off too soon was in multiple seasons. My character was in multiple episodes. He was introduced. He was loved by everyone, and he died. He was killed off too soon. He could have died the exact same way, but further down the track. They should have put him in there. He had connections, being a prince to the whole Sand people. He had so much more to give. He was a character that people like. He was an actor that people loved. His career blew up because of 3 episodes. 3 episodes. He was offered full-time jobs and other things. That's how good he turned that character into it. The character of him is the best character there, because in the smallest amount of time, you got something new, and it changed the way in which people saw Game of Thrones, but it also fit right in perfectly. He was that jigsaw piece that you couldn't quite find to get in there, and they put him in there, and then what they do, they ripped him out way too soon because he was killed off way too soon.
Time. Ryan, a minute on the clock to close out this argument. Time starts when you start talking.
So far, your arguments for why Oberyn Martell should stay along, because he was popular, he was entertaining, because he was charming. Well, if Oberyn had not died, his character would have suffered the same lack as so many characters like Tyrion, like Cersei, like Jaime Lannister, like Arya. They're good. Whatever had made them popular amongst fans would have been dragged out and died out along seasons 6 or season 7. With Barristan, ever since he joined Daenerys, his thing was, he not only was he aware of King's Landing, he knows the shit history of part of. He says in his exchange with Jorah, "I've served so many shit kings, I want to serve a good ruler." Who does not want to relate to that? Having served knowing so many bad people in your life, the fact that you get to know someone who's good, or at least you hope to strive to have someone be better than the previous mistakes the previous choices you made. The fact he wants to impart that is a wise ruler. And one thing that Game of Thrones does not show is that people, even though they're smart, they're not acting calm, they're not acting rationally, they're not acting wise. Barristan could have been that wise person who then
Time. All right.
All right.
Another great round that we are taking to the judging stage. Jonathan, we're starting off with you. Who gets your point and why?
This is a tough one to pick out of it, but both of you guys will have great arguments of why your characters that kill off too soon, and there was a good rebalance between both of your arguments right here, though. But for me, I think I had to give my point to Grant on this one, because he put out his argument so much that in this short amount of time right here, why his character is more well received and well liked right here on a short amount of time. Well, Ryan, with your character right here, though, he has a little bit longer to almost a full season right here. Well, he was liked, yes, but at the same time, I didn't have enough of more into the argument right here to help with yours. So I'm going to give my part to Grant.
All right, Grant getting the first vote. Alan, we are moving on to you. Who gets your point and why?
Well, both of you did well arguing for your characters. because I felt definitely I knew who these characters were, considering the only thing I know about Game of Thrones is the Key and Peele sketch. So I've never watched an episode. I think I'm gonna have to go agree with Jonathan with the character was killed too soon. Grant made more argument by why he was killed literally too soon, and Ryan stuck around a little longer. So I am gonna give my point to Grant as well.
And with that, and your winner, the comic book lad, Grant Gregory. Again, just because I love opinions, especially when they are my own. I was actually leaning the other way. I was leaning towards Ryan. Both these gentlemen did a fantastic job of saying why their characters were killed off too soon. And they both had great counters on why the other character wasn't. The thing that really sold it for me is Ryan sold why keeping Barristan could have fixed or could have helped Game of Thrones the later seasons. Whereas keeping Oberyn on there, he would have suffered the same fate as everyone else, just getting thrown into the shuffle and being forgotten about. I do just have a couple fact checks. On it, Grant, you did say when Barristan dies, he's walking down a street on a city on which he is hated alone. A quick fact check, he is not. It's him and Grey Worm are, in fact, walking across the street before the Sons of Harpy attack both of them. And then also you said he's only in like 3 or 4 episodes. He's in 7. But still, none of that matters on the grand scheme of things because you do come out. You do come out victorious in your debut of late TV fights. Being sick, you were able to take down Ryan. How are you feeling after that match?
Yeah, a little shocked. There's a lot of those points that went, oh shit, yeah, Ryan got me on that one. And I'm like, oh, I hope I get him. But yeah, no, Ryan's great. He's a great competitor. And it's nice to try this one. I've got 2 belts and 2 other divisions here, so it's enjoyable and it's fun to dip my toes in and try something new. And I think TV is probably going to be one that I stick to the most because it's very diverse with its questioning. So.
All right, and definitely bringing up the fact that you are double belted. You took a right step on your journey to 3 belts. Question I usually ask everyone: is there anyone in the world of late TV fights that you are looking at taking on in the near future?
I'm not really too sure who's playing in the division, but yeah, anyone. Just as long as they bring it, that's all that matters. And like Ryan did, Ryan brought it. So if you get a good competitor, yeah, it tends to make you better as well. So I say iron sharpens iron. So yeah, give me a nice big piece of iron.
All right, asking for a nice chunk of iron. I don't know how well metal debates, but we will see what we can do for you. And Ryan, you'd rather be watching Killing Eve right now, but I don't know about you. This was a fantastic hour and 10 minutes that it's been so far. You did a great job. You might have lost 3-1, but you did a fantastic job. How are you feeling after this?
Despite the joke moniker hand I put on here, this was a good match. Grant, even when he is playing like at a hand, like even when he's like I forget what the gaming term is, pretty much on the handicap setting where 25% of his health has been penalized while you're going forward on the hardest setting, he was still able to come out on top here. And yeah, just like Grant, I too thought there were moments in the judging I thought, oh, I had Grant there, or no, Grant, he definitely knocked me down a peg here. This literally, my mind was going back and forth, and I'm not gonna regret saying, oh, if I had said this, because at this point, if I'm not learning from my mistakes, then how am I gonna move forward in debating? But right now, this was a good way to dip my toe back into late TV fights, and I don't know, maybe finally widen my gaze, maybe playing some of the other divisions here. Who knows?
Yes, and we would love to have you around. I know you've been around quite a bit, and I'd love to see that journey go even further. I'm gonna ask you the same question. Is there anyone in the late TV fights world, or anyone just that you've seen debate, that you would love to take on in late TV fights?
I don't know. Part of me wants to get back into nerd fights again. My debut against Ruben did not go the way I was hoping it for, but just being able to dip myself into that league, it's also very, just like TV fights here, there is a broad range, and to be honest, I am kind of hungry back again. I'm not looking for a win, but I'm just looking for just a good opponent to go up against and really have myself being tested, being challenged. I'm not trying to go in any leagues looking for an easy victory. No, I want someone who like Grant, is going to find a hole in my argument, or from one of the most favorite movies I watched, Knives Out, finds a donut hole in the donut of my argument. So I would definitely love to maybe once again go back into nerd fights and fight. I don't know if Ruben is champ or not. I'd like to fight him again, or go into. Definitely with wrestling, want to get my hands back to face the debate god Sean. So there's a lot of people I want to fight.
I don't know. I got 2 belts and I got a better record, so I would never debate belt.
Yeah, I think we all want a shot at the false god, Sean. You're bringing in a deep wound in my chest. Bringing him up, but
I would love to fight him again.
yes. Keep rubbing it in that I took him on and lost. Thank you, Ryan.
Hey, I was trying to battle stars, but apparently yours is more important than mine. Okay.
All right. So with that, I have been the 57th, your 57th favorite dad in the family community. Sorry, words can be hard sometimes. Papa West, Jacob West. That has been right direction this time. The Raptor Master, Jonathan Peck, Dr. Spaceman, Alan Shepard, Carmel Mountain, Ryan Payne, and the comic book lad, Grant Gregory, saying, have fun, watch TV, or don't. I'm not your dad. Or am I?